3, 2, 1.
Very hard to do in Los Angeles right now as an art major, as an artist.
I'm in Newcastle in Australia and I'm studio crashing with Nigel Milsom. Thanks for having me today.
That's all right, yeah.
How did you actually, where did it all start for you, being an artist?
Well, I guess it was sort of something that I'd always done as a kid. You know, I'm from a large family. I got 3 brothers and 2 sisters. And I guess my, single family or single parent. Yeah. And it was always something that we were encouraged to do because it was easier for Mum just to kind of give us things that she could afford, and we just entertain ourselves. And I've got an uncle who's an artist. We were always around art, a lot of different forms and stuff, and so it kind of, I kept doing it. Well, we all do something creative in a way, even still now. Yeah. Like my older sister's a writer. She directs the Newcastle Writers Festival, and started that. But it was kind of, I think, when I was at high school that I sort of got more interested in just doing it like all the time.
Did you grow up, you were born in Albury, weren't you?
Yeah.
Did you grow up there or in Newcastle?
Well, I was born in Albury.
Yeah.
And then wasn't long after that we moved to Sydney.
Yeah.
And so I lived in Sydney probably until I was about sort of 7.
Yeah.
And then from there we moved to Young, which was a country town.
Oh yeah.
And then from Young we moved to Newcastle. So I think I was about 12 when I moved here.
Yeah.
12 or 13, and so it was sort of just a continuation of, I used to skateboard and I did a lot of sport, but I kind of always thought maybe I'd keep doing art because I enjoyed it, or painting and drawing or whatever, but I thought maybe I'd work like in some way with animals or something.
Yeah.
And I always had this sort of thought that I'd work at Taronga Zoo or something.
Yeah.
Because my grandparents lived in Messham-Muir.
Yeah, not far.
Yeah, and we were always going to the zoo.
Yeah.
It was interesting because even going to the zoo, you'd see people, they're drawing and painting the animals.
Yeah.
So no matter where I went,
yeah,
we'd spend a lot of time at Mossman Bay, and like my pop actually owned a house near the wharf that is Margaret Preston actually painted it.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, and I have a postcard of the painting, and it's like this big old, 4 or 5 story building, big, massive house. It was just him and my grandmother and my mum. My mum was an only child, so. But he used to talk about that, and he'd go down, and the backyard was like he'd just fish in the backyard, like catch flathead and. Yeah, so it was kind of, always around. And then my uncle lived at the Rocks. Yeah. And so when we spent weekends at my grandparents', like my grandma used to take us over to his house, and he used to teach at the Julian Ashton Art School. Oh right, yeah. Which was just down the road. So, and his house was a 3-story terraced house, like on Lower Fort Street, and it was just packed with paintings, like on the floor, on the walls. You could barely kind of walk, but it was just something. There was just something about it.
So it was always kind of you were always around it.
Yeah.
Did you went to Newcastle, didn't you?
Newcastle Uni.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Newcastle Art School. When I was sort of did my HSC, and I sort of saw all my friends kind of choose things that seemed just to be like very career orientated, they wanted to study engineering, or they wanted to do, graphic design or something. And so it got to a point where I kind of thought, I knew that I was going to paint by this stage. So I kind of gave up. on thinking about anything else. So when everyone went their separate ways, I didn't even go to university or anything, or art school. I just, left high school and surfed every day because we lived near the beach. And I started going, there's a local artist called Ron Hartree, and he had his own sort of independent sort of art club kind of thing. So it was only around the corner, so I started going there and doing life drawing. And I mean, I was actually going there when I was at high school. And so I started going there a lot more when I left.
Yeah.
And I remember he said, mate, you should go to art school, and just keep, it'd be good, because he saw that I was just pretty much going there alone. And he said, there's a whole community out here in this town that you should kind of get into. And so then I applied to go to the Hunter Street Art School.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the TAFE now,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And so I went there and just studied there for 2 years. And then after that, I think that was kind of where it ended. Their kind of the course.
Yeah, it was a diploma or associate.
Something like that. And then because I'd done 2 years there, it meant that I could sort of automatically almost go into university, like the art school at university, and enter second year.
Yeah.
But I chose just to go into first year and just start again.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So then I went there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was that back?
That was sort of mid-90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent 3 years there, and I still was quite young.
Yeah.
I don't think I was probably 20 or something when I left.
Yeah.
21 maybe, and I had a son at the time, and a lecturer there said, mate, you've got to get out of Newcastle and just sort of try to, pursue, learn more about art and stuff. So he rang up COFA, because it was too late for me to apply.
Yeah.
And so this guy, his name was Patrick Bernard.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
No.
He was like he painted Russian icons.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of the only sort of guys authorised to paint them for Russian churches and stuff.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
He was cool, man.
Yeah.
But so he rang up Ian Grant, who was, I think, the head of art at COFA.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, look, I've got a student who's sort of going to be a late enrolment or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it okay if he comes down and starts? And so I did an honours year, and then I did a master's after that. So it's kind of just, for me, I remember reading, I think Henry Matisse said, man, if you want to be an artist, you've got to at least study for 10 years. And I kind of just took that on literally, and just went, okay, well, it was 10 years or whatever, might as well do it. Because I never really felt like I was, I just was interested, and I wanted to sort of see, because, going to 3 different art schools, they both had 3 different approaches, and so
they do as well, don't they? Really, yeah.
So it was good to counter, compare what was going on and what I was being exposed to, from each one, and then it sort of, you start. I mean, you always have this attitude or this idea that you have to find a way of working that's sort of yours, and so that's kind of, I'd go to art school, but then I'd go home and paint.
Yeah.
I just didn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of need that to be absorbed in it. There's that whole thing about expertise needs 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Of whatever it is you're doing to actually get to that point where it's kind of natural.
I think it's, well, through that period, I just happened to meet, people say that it's, you're going to meet. I met people along the way that really sort of enabled me to keep going, and sort of they encouraged me, and they just sort of thought, it was just these beacons kind of pop out and show you not, they don't direct you or force any kind of path, but they show you that it's a path that you may not know where it's heading, but you just have to keep going.
it's kind of it's realizing that those paths actually exist. I think because I was a bit like that. You know, when I became an academic, I had no intention of becoming an academic, but you kind of see people who are slightly or much further along, and you go, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I never really thought that I'd end up kind of where I have, or where, like, the ride, the path that I took. I didn't. Yeah, you don't know.
Your career really has kind of reached its peak in the last sort of, 5 years really. How did you keep going? Because I think that is the hardest period for an artist. Like when you leave uni, you're no longer with your peer group, and you then have to kind of do it on your own.
Well, I think the sort of final year of doing the masters, like there was like an artist collective at Imperial Slacks, which was a kind of a group of artists who sort of banded together to show work and support artists out, just as, it was kind of a platform to leave art school, show your work, although we would sort of it formed while we were at art school, but there was a group of core, like Sean Gladwell and some core group of people that took art making seriously. And so I was sort of showed there and group shows, and I had a solo exhibition there, but I was kind of also, I knew that I needed more time, like I thought I'm just a lot slower.
Yeah.
I'm a slow learner in a lot of ways, and I thought I needed to just sort of remain independent, and I just worked jobs for pay and showed in independent artists run galleries, but like around 2000 or like 99, I think, I met, I was working at a gallery showing like hanging work, and I met Kerry Crowley, who's has pretty esteemed sort of reputation in terms of being a gallerist, I guess, dealer, gallery, whatever. And so I was working hanging her, like I hung a Robert McPherson show one day, I think in 2000. He was a sort of part of a satellite Biennale. Yeah. So me and a friend set up his work, and that's how I met Kerry, through Nick Waterlow. And so it was sort of, we formed a relationship, and she said, well, if you ever need any pocket money or money to kind of keep you going, come down and do some odd jobs for me at the gallery. So I just started doing that. And I think the first time I went in there, like Adam Cullen, who was another Sydney artist who studied at Cove for a few years earlier, he was showing there. So I met him straight away and we just hit it off.
Yeah.
And so that was another kind of experience, that sort of formed a part of my attitude to keep working and finding things out for myself. And then, so then I was showing at the same time in these places, and Kerry always said, like, if you ever feel confident or comfortable, because she would come and look at my shows and give me kind of advice or critique the work, or but very like encouraging. Yeah. And she showed artists that I liked their work. There was something about it that I was interested in, and although there was other galleries, commercial galleries around, I really didn't think about anything. Like, it wasn't like I wanted to get picked up by another gallery or anything, because it was more organic.
Yeah. So when did she start? When did you actually enter the stable at your growing?
I think it was 2000 and maybe 4.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And I worked at, so I left art school and stuff, and I worked for 4 years at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Just to get some income to keep working. So I worked there for 4 years.
Same kind of stuff, like proprietor?
No, I was like a guard.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. But I kind of saw that as another form of art, my education. Yeah. Because once I left art school, I really felt I had to deinstitutionalize myself. So you spend all those years studying and getting involved and learning about, you know, contemporary kind of issues in art and you know, like, so I just had to let that go. And so then it
kind of find your own thing.
Yeah, well,
like
it kind
of with the institutions kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, kind of just get over like relying on this kind of this sheltered sort of institution, like where everyone sort of works towards working there, almost like they never leave. There are guys that just don't leave.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't for me because I couldn't teach. Like, I'd be terrible. Like, because I get too emotionally involved in other people's what they're doing, and I have done a few teaching jobs, and it was just so exhausting.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
It probably means you were probably quite a good teacher, actually.
Well, I ended up, like the last time I did it, I think there was about 20 people in the class and we're doing like a still life or a portrait, or people just brought whatever they want. And I ended up it was almost like I painted 40 pictures or 20 pictures in the one day.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't like let them leave without having something that they liked.
Yeah.
And it was always just a quick kind of, something that would work was only a slight movement of a brush, but it was easy for me to do that for them.
Yeah.
And then I'd come back and they'd say, "Oh, I fucked that up," you know, and I'd have to do it again. Yeah. And then it would be, but I just couldn't go on. Like, yeah. And then, but working at the art gallery kind of was a different, because it just meant looking at painting and just seeing, you know, I was never really doing my job because I was just studying the artwork and looking at how things were, you know, put together, and it was good, but it was, you know, it was hard as well because it's just monotonous work, you know, and after a while there's only so much you can get or learn before you just get bored. I mean, but there's a new show coming out all the time, so it was fresh and good, and I met some nice people, but I knew it wasn't, you know, when you kind of get to that point where either you're going to do what you want to do and you have to sort of throw everything, like kick everything out and start and do it and just take a chance and see what happens, or you kind of just slowly sort of decay. That's how I felt. Yeah. Like inside, you know. Yeah. So I just left, I left that job and I started painting, and I think I saved up a little bit of money to just paint off that for a while. Like maybe I thought, I've probably got a few months work. So
so that was I suppose it was the threshold you reached when you actually, you know, you're able to practice full time and not have to worry about work.
Yeah, but I kind of knew that money was only going to last me for a certain period of time, but I didn't know. But anyway, in that time I made a body of work, and I said to Kerry at one stage, I'll come around to my studio or to where I'm working and I'll just show you what I've been working on, and I want to show it, you know. I said, I don't mind if I show it somewhere else, or I just would like to show it somewhere, but you know, it'd be good if I showed it to you first. And she just said, I really, because I had a show before that at the National Art School with another artist called Christopher Hanrahan. Do you know him?
Yeah. I
painted and drew, and he did sculptures and kind of the installation aspect of it. And Kerry said to me then, that was a really cool show. And she'd always come and help me install the work, and that always made the big difference for me. Like that made, like, for me, what seemed like ordinary work, like in my mind, it was the way she set up these kind of relationships between the work that really allowed something to happen. Yeah. And I just couldn't sort of, it's undeniably kind of, that dynamic is very difficult to, you have to have that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
You know, it's not like you have to it's maybe a learned thing because, you know, she has such an experience of, she's just great at what she does, and it just always made my work look heaps better. Yeah. You know, and so she came and hung the work at the National Art School, and she said, "Oh, this would have been nice to show at my place." And I said, "Cool." But then, so the next body of work, that's when I said, "Oh, just come and have a look at it." And she did, and she said, "Yeah, I'll show it in the gallery." And I think there was 26 pieces. It was just sort of one. I saw it as one painting.
Yeah.
But in almost like a storyboard, sort of, like one of those, you flip through those kind of books, animations.
Yeah.
I sort of saw it like that,
Yeah.
but on the wall, and like a sequence of images, and so. Yeah, I showed it, and then I think that was when the art gallery came, and I think Wayne Tunnicliffe, who was the curator, or Tony Bond, maybe. I think it was Wayne, but they came and bought 2 paintings from there, and it sort of just started from that point. And then after that, I kind of made sure that I just would focus on doing a body of work, and then when I thought I'd exhausted something or I needed a change and to move into another direction, I would then give, Kerry would take some of the work and either show it or just have it in the gallery and just to sort of see what comes next. But the good thing about the whole relationship with her, she was never once sort of tried to override or interfere with where I was going or what I was interested in, and I think that's kind of what sort of seemed to set her apart.